Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather. Got an awesome interview lined up for you guys as always. I have from the band Monster Truck, I have Mr. Jeremy Widerman. Man, you guys are getting ready to start up and hit at it again, so how's it going?
Oh, it's going really good, and thanks for pronouncing my last name correctly.
Yeah, I'm sure usually everybody calls you Widerman or something.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone always likes to throw that L in there.
Like I said, you guys are getting ready to hit the road pretty hard and heavy here, starting out for January, and get Monster Truck back on the road. But let's talk about Monster Truck here and you guys. You guys formed in 2008 from several indie bands. How'd that all come together?
Me and Steve were playing in another band locally here in Hamilton. It's, got a little bit of popularity in Canada. I'd known Brandon. He was in another band in a similar situation, and we had just kind of met through our two bands touring together and become friends. And I've been friends with John, our singer, for a long time, probably almost 15 years now in just the local Hamilton scene, and just through him playing through various bands that I was interested in, and just kind of knowing each other through mutual friends. And we kind of all just hang out now and then. We'd always kind of discuss the idea of starting a side project to do, something a little more fun, something that was a little closer to our hearts, and something that we could just call our own and not really have any expectations or outside influence on. And I think because we started the band from such a basic place of just wanting to have fun and do things for ourselves, it kind of just accelerated itself on its own and put us in the position to get some really great tours and opportunities, and pretty much doing it. We've been doing it full time now for about 3 years.
Yeah, and you guys actually made a couple EPs, I think 2 EPs, and then you guys started getting offers. How was that for you guys to say, hey, look, we're finally getting offers to do stuff? How did you guys feel?
It was really cool, man. From the beginning, I mean, we were turning down a lot of things because they just didn't make sense to us, whether financially or logistically. We were just kind of taking things slow in the beginning because we kind of had our nose up against the music industry. We really didn't like the way things had gone down in the bands that we'd been in before, and the whole major label, even indie label, kind of the way everything worked and the politics involved. So, once we got over that hump and started going on it full time, it really became a completely different story, and we just went full bore ahead.
Do you think, man, that you've seen it to where record labels only see the actual artist as just money only and not appreciating the actual artist's music and whatnot? I'm sure you've seen that. Yeah,
I mean, I haven't really experienced that a whole lot.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people that work at the labels, they do start as music fans, and they've been losing money too lately. So it's a situation where there's a little bit of unity, especially between some of the bands I've seen and the people who run the labels for them. But the situation that we're in right now with our label is excellent, and we're probably on the best, in my opinion, the best label in Canada. And they are an indie label and distributed through a major, and they kind of embody the same kind of ideals that we have, which is that we call the shots, we organize the game plan, and we execute it all on our own. And that's basically how our label works separate from us, and that's how we work separate from them. And it creates a situation where we get to kind of choose our own path, so to speak, as far as how we want to, how they want to move their label forward and how we want to move the band forward.
From 2011, you guys had a cross-Canada sold-out run with the Sheepdogs, and then 2012, man, you guys were handpicked by Slash to open his North American tour. And you guys also did sold-out dates with Deep Purple to support those guys. It seems like you guys have just took right off, and it's been nonstop. What was your reaction when you found out you was doing all these tours, kicking off with all these huge names for music?
It was super encouraging. A lot of those bands in my discussions with Slash or the people in his band, he's got an entire crew of people that surround him, whether it's Miles Kennedy or even just his crew. They're all people who are super encouraging towards us and very, very kind of I think they kind of saw something in us that they had recognized early on in some of, whether it's Deep Purple or Slash, or when we've done some dates with Alice in Chains. I think so much of what makes up a great band is the sum of its parts. And, in our group, it's just really just four friends coming together to share a common love for the music we play. And I think it's pretty recognizable when we meet these bands and they hear the music and we get involved with them. They see a little bit of themselves in us, and it kind of gives us the boost to keep moving forward and getting additional tours like this, which is, the name of the game when it comes to trying to get the band into new markets.
The first time I heard Furiosity, it was really good, man. You guys nailed it.
Thanks, man.
Shockingly, a lot of people may not know this, but you guys did the album not but once, but twice. Because the first time, how crazy is that? I mean, you just weren't happy with the first turnout of it?
Yeah, I mean, what happened was we had this fella Eric Ratz who's been doing our records as of late, and he had done the EP, the Brown EP before, and we were pretty happy with that EP. There was a couple things we didn't like about it, and we were really rushed for time, because we were low on money to put that together. But it came together in like about 3 days, and we released it. And we got kind of courted by a bigger LA-based producer to come and do the record there, and I think we kind of had a bit stars in our eyes, and we're pretty jazzed about the idea of doing the record in LA. And the studio that he had lined up was basically, it's the old Sound City room in what's the name, Van Nuys, California. So we got really overexcited about the idea of doing the record there, being four Canadian boys. And we kind of got courted down to do the record, and we only had 3 weeks to do it, and he wanted to do it all to tape, which is something that we were all interested in. But the problem with that is, especially in this case, was we didn't have the time to run through everything properly. I mean, when all those older bands were using tape in the 70s, they were spending months and months and months, like recording live, listening back to tape, cutting it together, re-editing, re-recording, rehearsing, constantly playing. And I don't feel like it's something that you can do in 3 weeks. It's not something you can do under a schedule or a binding time obligation. And it put us in the situation to keep things that we didn't want to keep, and make compromises on whether it was sound or the takes we were getting, or even the decisions that we were making for the structures of the arrangements were being compromised because we were on such a tight schedule. And in the end, it ended up just sounding like a glorified demo, and we weren't happy with it. So, it took some convincing and some time and everyone coming together and getting on the same page again. But we eventually decided to redo it again and go back to a familiar face of Eric Ratz and kind of attack things from a familiar standpoint.
Like I said, man, you guys nailed it on this CD, Furiosity. Now, are you guys writing on any new material right now, being like actually going to come out soon, or what's going on?
I wouldn't say it's going to come out soon. I think a lot of bands get to spend about 3 or 4 years working on their debut full length, and then they do a lot of touring, and then they're immediately thrown back in the fire and having to come up with a second record. And I think that's why a lot of bands' second effort ends up maybe falling short, or not really kind of resonating the same way with fans that the first one did. And that's a situation that I really, really want to avoid with this. And we are starting to work on new songs, but I don't think we have any intention of getting into the studio for at least a year. So it gives us the time to, really hone down the songs that we have, write additional songs, play the songs live, get the reactions of the people who we care about the most, which is our fan base, and really spend the same amount of time on this record that we spent on the first one, and make sure that it doesn't let anyone down, and it gives us the opportunity to expand and add to what we've already created, as opposed to compromising or falling short, which I think we've all seen happen many times before with bands' second release.
Yeah, definitely, because like you said, they put the first CD out, they go on a big, huge tour, and then they're thrown right back in. And it's amazing how they'll make an awesome debut album, and then the second CD is just nothing, and then they're gone.
Yeah, and it makes sense too when you consider the fact that the band had 3 or 4 years of working on EPs and working on this song and that song and playing it live and replaying it live and making the adjustments. And that second record, if you force it out in a couple months, you end up with every song sounding like it's at 80%. and you never got those times to turn those last couple screws to bring it to where the potential really lies. So that's something we're really, really adamant about doing. And like I said, we have started this time off that we've had over the holiday. We've started on a bunch of new songs, and we're going to try and play a couple of them over the next couple months, and continue writing new ones as we're doing sound checks or having a couple weeks off here and there.
Think how crazy it is nowadays. You can actually do stuff digitally now. You can record on the bus at home via than what you had to back in the early days coming in as a band. Would you like to do it now digitalized, or would you like to do it as in the studio? What's your take on that?
We use our biggest asset at this time right now is using the sound recorder on the iPhone. We use that pretty much to hash out new ideas on guitar. We use it to record full band demos just to kind of get a feel for the new songs as we're putting them together. Yeah. And then, we'll move a step further than that and demo the entire song digitally and, multi-track before we even bring it into the studio. And then, as far as what we're going to do in the studio, I don't think we've really, decided what we want to do. The idea of using tape is great. You get certain kinds of you get a unity with the music and the sound that you sometimes I don't think you can achieve with digital, but it's a situation of time and money and the right studio and the right people and everything else. So right now, I think we're really only concerned with getting those demos done, and that those are things that just float around amongst us and we get to listen to, and it gets us into the place where we're all feeling confident enough to move to the next step.
Does everybody in the group contribute to the writing process, Jeremy, or is it just mainly you with the writing? How do you guys do that?
A lot of times the songs will start off as a kind of a small seed, whether it's with me coming up with an initial riff or with John coming up with a riff. John will sometimes when he's working on music, he'll write the entire arrangement and song and lyrics and everything and bring it to the group. But there's a huge evolution that happens once we get it all together in the jam space, and everyone's got great input. And our drummer Steve has a lot of amazing ideas. From a drumming perspective, not just with the arrangements and with the beat or the speed or the tempo or whatever. He also has a lot of great ideas for guitar, and he's just a great musician overall. And his ideas are always things that we incorporate into the evolution of the song. And Brandon even has a lot of times comes up with great little additions or removals or edits to the arrangements and the music that add a huge. Sometimes those ideas that take the song from 90% to 100% are just as important as the first 90%, because it finally, it makes the potential of the song reach where it needs to be. Sometimes you can have the idea for the song and the arrangement and put it all together, but if you only get it to 90%, it doesn't do anything. It's not good enough. So to have all those, have everyone in the band contributing and having everyone, come together and get those last little screw turns happening to make the song finished, it's a great situation for all of us, to be able to trust everyone and have them all contribute.
Who are some of your influences that really said, that grabbed your attention and made you want to be a musician?
There's a lot of different ways to look at it. As far as influences for wanting to start playing guitar and start being in a band, I was part of the huge grunge influx of the early '90s, and was really into Nirvana and Pearl Jam. But as far as this group specifically, I took a lot of influence from Tom Morello and Rage Against the Machine as far as arrangements of guitar parts and the sonics involved in making the songs sound the way they sound, and the style of guitar playing that I use to drive home the message. Me and Harv came together over a lot of early Grand Funk Railroad, specifically 1969 to 1972, when they were at the kind of the height of their arena rock period. And it was something that we kind of bonded over a lot and said that we wanted to base a lot of the ideas and the style and theme of this band around. And I think it's something that we've, achieved to a certain extent, and also adding all those things that we grew up with, whether it was grunge or punk or the classic rock elements or even the Rage Against the Machine style vibe. I would hate to have a band where all we do is throw back to the 70s, while ignoring all the fantastic rock and roll that's happened since then.
The crazy thing, you mentioned Tom Morello. He's actually going on tour with the the boss, Bruce Springsteen, if I'm not mistaken.
I actually watched some YouTube footage of it the other night. And was impressed. It's always great when musicians that you never would expect to play together, and creates kind of situations that that'll always surprise you. It's quite exciting.
Tom Morello is a fantastic guitar player. I mean, he's on the
I mean, it's his creativity that I love the most, and I'm really a fan of pop arrangements and really to the point songwriting and catchy and all that stuff, and he's just such a master of blending the simple and the complex to make something that is a perfect balance of both and really drives home the point. When you listen to some of those Rage Against the Machine songs, and he's got these very basic octave driven riffs, and then he goes into these wild effects driven solos or even stuff that sounds like a DJ scratching. It's such a great pairing of both.
I like Metallica. I loved Cliff Burton as their bassist. I mean, Cliff Burton could make a bass talk to you, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, actually. John, our singer and bass player, is such a huge Metallica fan, but as with a lot of Metallica fans, he's specifically a huge fan of the older stuff, and especially the Cliff Burton era, and he's got a lot of great things to say about him. He would be a better person to describe his love of their music.
What can fans expect at a Monster Truck show from you guys?
We get asked that a lot. It's a tough one to answer. I mean, really, we're just a rock and roll band, and we really try and blend all the best elements of classic rock and 70s and 60s classic rock with all the best of what's happened since then. I'm a huge NoFX fan. I love a lot of punk rock music. Yeah. I like to incorporate a lot of the excitement that you get with that, and and the basic riff structures of Rage Against the Machine, and all the other guys have their influences. Brandon's a big Grateful Dead and Bob Dylan fan, and John is a real fan of heavy metal and all that kind of stuff. So everyone brings all those ideas to the page, and we try and create something that is a hybrid of all.
What's your favorite NoFX song?
You know what? It's kind of weird. It may even be a cop out, but my favorite one is The Decline, because it's 18 minutes of just they shift gears so many times, and they give you so many great moments in that song.
It's like a 3-part song.
It is. It's one of the best. I think it's one of the best examples of fast punk rock, kind of SoCal punk that has ever been laid down to records. So it's a lot of fun. But they're the kind of band, they're almost like the AC/DC of punk rock, where you know what you're going to get when you get a NoFX record. They're not going to reinvent the wheel or completely throw things upside down, and that's called there's familiarity and a sense of comfort when you have a band that you know what you're going to get, and that's another kind of theme that I think we like to incorporate with our band.
The funny part about that is, you mentioned The Decline. When I first got that, it's an EP pretty much. It's just one single. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But the actual disc is so trippy.
Yeah.
It's got JFK on it with with a little airplane, and it's oh my god.
Yeah. No, I love it too. The disc itself with the clear edge and the silver center. It was that, picking that up in that record store, I remember vividly, and it was exciting. It was an exciting afternoon for me. I think I must have listened to it 3 or 4 times in a row before I finally, was able to grasp the gravity of it all.
Hot Dog in a Hallway, I have to say, is my favorite song of all.
Awesome, man. That's cool too. Yeah, that one brings me back to my high school days, and listening to that song with the band that I was in at the time, my punk rock band. And when I was in high school, we used to sit around and listen to Heavy Petting Zoo and Punk and Drublic.
The lyrics to Hot Dog in a Hallway, when you listen to it, it's like, it's not right. That is not right. But that's what makes NoFX NoFX.
They just don't give an F.
No, they don't. That's for sure. Jeremy, when fans leave your guys' show, what do you hope that they take away from it?
We were just really trying to provide them with just a really well-crafted rock and roll show. We wanted to feel like it's easier to kind of put it from the perspective of where we have where we talk to the fans after the show, and a lot of times they'll say to us, they've been waiting for a band like us for a long time. Yeah. To me, that's the best compliment anyone could give, and anytime that we can make people feel like that, I think our job is done.
I got to thank Steve Cross on this because he actually hooked me up with you guys. And I heard Redline Chemistry plus you guys. It was a fresh air of music, man, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're kind of going for, you know. There was something missing in the rock genre for us personally, and that was kind of another reason for starting the group. And anytime that we can make people feel like we're filling a hole or filling the void of maybe what's been missing from the rock genre lately, that's something that, you know, that is definitely a goal of ours.
Do you guys prefer clubs or festivals, or does it even really matter?
Doesn't really matter, man, because, you know, we've played good festivals, we played bad festivals, we played great clubs, we've played horrible ones, and, you know, it's better almost to just have a real open mind and be, you know, happy to play anything, and you know, especially when the people running the event or the stage or the venue itself are helpful and accommodating, and, you know, we try and be the same way with them. And anytime that comes together in a great way, you're in for a good show.
What do you think that monster truck brings to the table for music?
I just hope that we were just providing people with with something that's a really great blend of the old and new. That's what we're trying to do here. And, you know, I don't want to lean too far to either side. And
yeah,
we just want to provide people with the kind of rock and roll that we think that we would like to listen to. And, you know, we hope we're doing a good job.
Any bands that you've not got to tour with that you eventually hope to get to tour with?
Yeah, we would love to play with Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah.
I think that's a great example of another band that's doing exactly what we're trying to do, which is, you know, take all the great elements of the old and bring in some new ideas and some new influences. You know, we've done a couple shows with Clutch. We'd love to do some more. And we'd also like to play with a band from Sweden called Blues Pills. I don't know if you've heard them yet.
No, I haven't.
You should definitely check them out. They are an incredible band. Right now, they've only released 2 EPs. I feel like they're at the beginning of something really awesome. They got a great female lead vocalist. And, yeah, if you can, they're called Blues Pills. And they are, they actually kind of lean more to the classic rock side. But, man, in such a good way that you can't fault them for it. And that actually reminds me of Graveyard as well. We're huge fans of Graveyard, and I think those are 2 bands that we would be happy to share the stage with someday.
If you like Black Sabbath, I'm going to throw a band out to you guys, and they've been around for a year, about 3 or 4 years now. A Pale Horse Named Death.
Okay.
They are amazing. It's pretty much,
someone else was mentioning them to us,
yes.
So I'm sure we're going to cross paths with them someday too.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much Typo Negative left over, pretty much.
Oh, cool.
It's doom and gloom, the old Black Sabbath, man. I mean, since you guys like the old rock and roll style, I'm sure you would dig them. Trust me.
Awesome. I would definitely look into that.
How do you guys take on touring? I mean, is it rough on you guys sometimes? I mean, how do you guys really just stay down to earth on touring?
It's rough sometimes. It's you know, sometimes you kind of do wish you were at home for a bit, or you know, you could even have a day off or two when you're on a long run of shows in a row. But, you know, it's basically what we got into, and you know, a lot of it is such a great time, and a lot of it is so much fun, and we do love to play live, and it's just one of those things where you really need to just find those times where you can have a moment to yourself and you know, do something that's completely disconnected from music and from the tour itself. And sometimes that's just a day off, and, you know, going to enjoy a town that you're in by yourself, or you know, even get into a museum or art gallery, or you know, a theme park or a water park, or just doing something that, you know, brings you back to you know, just completely separate from everything that you've been pounding on for the last couple of weeks. But you know, we've been doing a great job of handling it so far, and we've got probably one of the biggest strings of tours that we've ever had, and in fact, I know it's the biggest string of tours we've ever had, and, you know, we're ready for the challenge.
I want to thank you for taking time out to do this interview. I got one more question for you here. What does it mean to you as a musician when either someone, I don't care where they're from, comes up to you or emails you and says, "Hey, your music has tremendously helped me"? What does that mean to you?
I think that's one of those things that I think that's one of those things that's such a great reflection of why you started playing music in the first place. I mean, there was so much of the reason that I started playing was that it was helping me. You know, it was helping me feel better, or it was helping me have fun or enjoy, you know, time with friends or whatever. And, you know, to find out that it spread to other people, or that they've gotten involved in one way or the other, or inspired them to start playing music is such an amazing offshoot of everything that's right about being in a band or trying to write songs for yourself or for other people. You know, like I said, we started this band from somewhat of a selfish place where we just wanted to do what we wanted to do, and we wanted to, you know, please ourselves with the music and fill a void that we felt was missing from ourselves. And then, of course, you know, to find out that reflected and spread to other people is just such a great thing to hear, and we're always happy to you know, to kind of share the love.
Jeremy, how can people get a hold of you guys to say we love your music or purchase anything from you? How can they do that?
The best method is probably starting off on our website at ilovemonstertruck.com. We've got both of our first 2 EPs there available for free to download.
Okay.
So if you want to just, you know, kind of test the waters before purchasing the full length, you can hear both of our EPs there, which we're very proud of those. And from there, you can go onto the Facebook or Twitter, and, you know, we run all those social media networks completely on our own and directly from members of the band. So, you know, there's no label people, there's no publicity people running anything for us. And anytime that you post on our pages, you can be assured that someone from the group is reading it.
Once again, man, thank you for taking time out to do this interview with me.
No problem.
Monster Truck, like I said before, is a fresh breath of music, man, to be honest with you.
Thanks, man. We appreciate the support, and we're always happy to take the time to chat and kind of spread the word. So hopefully we'll see you soon.
Jeremy, can you do a promo for the show before I let you go?
Sure. Hey, this is Jared from Monster Truck, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Thank you, man. Guys, stick around. We got some Monster Truck coming up. You only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio.
Now you're the golden